Hello, welcome to this week's edition of the Church Office.
Church office.
All right, we're back, PJ.
Yeah.
It is a rainy Wednesday.
Yeah.
Today's that day where we got all that rain, and so golf league is canceled tonight, right? But I heard you had a good night. It's a
I played on Monday night
with
yeah,
Wes,
with
right?
Wes, yeah.
Right.
We had a great time. It was
All right.
fun. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Update on some of the events that are happening. PJ talked to us about Tuesday night Family Connection night.
Yeah.
We took it last night. The weather kind of
Yeah. So we
changed some
canceled
things.
for weather last night.
But
Yep.
what do you got coming
So
up?
well, so the next 4 Tuesdays, every Tuesday in July, we're meeting, and we were gonna do water stuff last night. We'll probably reschedule that for another night, but Tuesdays in July, and then we'll have at the end another big barbecue. But yeah, I mean it's been great so far. Out at Penn campus, that space is just so awesome. Where the kids can run around, and we got the playground and everything. So yeah, Tuesdays in July in the evening. Just check the Facebook for it, and yeah, it's been great.
You might remember the grill. So the grill worked out
that's
great.
right, yeah.
So
Yeah,
we'll have to
it
have. Yeah. So yeah, leading up to that one, we'll show the grill kind of out in its natural habitat.
Yeah,
in that space.
out in the wild. Yeah,
That was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun there. And you had a lot of fun with the slip and slide.
I did. I was hurting a little bit after. I'll tell you that. I did.
Yeah.
I did go down the. It was a great. It was so cool that we said it was awesome.
Who was that? Gulliver? Was it Gulliver with the Lilliputians? That's what you looked like. There was like a bunch of 5 and 6 year olds, and then Pastor Brooks. All right, who's a big fella. He's a big guy. All right, so yeah, that was fun to watch.
Yeah, I had just as much fun as them.
Yes, you did.
But they probably could get out of bed the next morning,
They had no
whereas
problem.
I struggled. But,
Exactly.
you know.
All right, PJ, I'm working with.
Yeah, what do you got here? This
so
is new.
This is new. This is new. So this was a group, a ministry called Chosen, which they sent this to me. Okay, it was like a promo, kind of send them a free mug and kind of a deal.
Yeah.
But what it brought up to me was The Chosen.
Yeah, the show.
All right, the television show,
Yeah.
which PJ's a fan of.
Big time. Yeah.
I'm a fan of. And here's how this came to be. I'm listening to PJ's sermon this Sunday, and this is the way it works. PJ once told you how he comes up with sermon ideas, kind of told you how the sausage.
Yeah,
is made,
that's
so
right.
to
That's right.
speak.
Yeah.
This is how it works for us, at least for me. I'm listening to PJ's sermon knowing full well my text.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know so I'm listening to what he's going to say to see how we might kind of piggyback on something. That's kind of how that works when you're a team and you're together kind of proclaiming the narrative. I know that my text is the death of John the Baptist, okay? And so I sit down then Monday to watch season 4, episode 1 of The Chosen.
Yeah, which is pretty newly out now.
It's kind of newly out, and a friend of mine said, Jay, you've got to watch this. It's fantastic. Fine. All right. So I'll dive in now. The episode is about the death of John the Baptist.
Yeah.
I've just been literally thinking about this text since Sunday.
Yeah.
And so I watched this, and I'm just going to come out and say it. I think it might be some of the best television that I've seen. The way they structured this is so good. And this story's always fascinated me from the beginning, partly because the way that Matthew, Mark, and Luke recorded, it's a flashback.
Yeah.
It's not even in the narrative itself. It's almost like, oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you.
Yeah.
And this is significant.
Oh, it
this
fits so perfectly. Yeah.
And so, just the way that they did this. So I said to PJ, hey, watch this episode. Because we're both big fans of the show. We've talked about it for since it's come out. Watch this episode, and I want to see if you saw the same things that I saw.
Okay. Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
So just from a substance standpoint. So let's dive into it.
Okay.
All right, let's go. Here's what I thought.
Okay.
I thought the way in which that they told the story had to be intentional, because you start out with a 1, 2, 3, and then another 1, 2, 3, and those things mirror each other. You start out with Mary and Elizabeth and their conversation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
From there, you go into Salome's training. Salome is Herodias' daughter.
Yep.
We assume her name is Salome from Josephus, the Jewish historian.
Yeah.
That's how. I don't think
Unnamed in the Bible. Yeah.
Not named in the text.
Yep.
That's how we know.
Yeah.
And then you go from 2 intense scenes to what I would call the backstory, the olive oil business.
Yeah.
This kind of romance between Thomas and Rama, kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
That's not necessarily biblical.
Right. Those are both
There's a
extra biblical
backstory,
stories.
right?
Yep.
But something that we appreciate about the way that Dallas Jenkins, the creator, tells the story is he'll take some artistic liberties, but they're not changing the narrative of God's word as much as they're adding a little bit of context because this did happen in history with real people.
Yeah.
Is that fair to
Yeah,
say?
and there is more context than what we have.
Yeah.
Right? Like these people had lives, and they're just using some imagination to creatively give, and what I love is that it lets you as the viewer then think of what they thought of, but then continue to use your imagination too. It's very well done.
So well done. And I love being creative with this kind of a thing.
Yeah.
For most of our folks know that here too. So you got those three things. Now, from that, then we go to another 1, 2, 3. Now watch how these things mirror up. Mary and Elizabeth's conversation, recorded in Luke chapter 1, is about joy. Mary's pregnant. Elizabeth's pregnant, right?
Yep.
And now they're talking about Jesus and John the Baptist, even though they're not in the scene.
Yep.
The next conversation is between Joanna and Chuza, Herod's house manager.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Joanna has kind of this interest in the safety of John the Baptist, who's under arrest.
Yep.
So Joanna and Chuza have a conversation which is tense.
Yes.
There's a lack of joy.
Yep.
It's antagonistic. Jesus and John the Baptist are still the main characters, but they're not even in the scene.
Yeah.
Two conversations kind of mirroring each other.
Yeah.
Right. Next, I don't know. Did you this long scene with Z, Simon the Zealot?
Yep.
They call him Z.
Oh, the washing?
Yeah, the
Yes,
laundry scene.
very
What did you think
interesting.
about it? Yeah.
I thought it was very foretelling.
Okay.
Right? With I think they were trying to. I really appreciate. I think they're getting into the character of Judas Iscariot.
Yes, they are.
And I think rightfully so. We very often portray him in one light.
Yes.
But he is also still a person. And Jesus chose him as a disciple.
Yep.
And there's something there, and I can't wait to see what they do with it.
Try this on for mirroring. Would you say that Z is training Judas on how to do laundry?
Yeah, that's
It
what this
mirrors
is. Yeah.
then Salome's training of the dance that she's going to do.
Oh yeah, that's
Do we
good.
have the characters of Salome who contributes in John the Baptist's demise, and then also the foreshadowing of Judas?
I did not pick that up, but I think you're absolutely right.
It's got to be intentional,
that's,
right?
Yes.
So
Yeah,
conversation,
100%,
training,
100%.
and now then we go another a backstory, almost like a breather. It's almost like Jenkins knows this is intense. I got to give him a break.
Yeah.
Intense. I got to give him a break.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
And we have that again.
Yeah.
So after that, then we get into a couple more conversations. You have Herodias, who's kind of really the villain. She's talking to the Kofi, who's the trainer, the dancer kind of thing.
Yeah.
We juxtapose that with Joanna, who talks to the prison guard and kind of learns the conspiracy that's going on.
Yep.
All right. And then we have then you have Salome's dance,
Mm-hmm.
which is there, which I wanted to read to you. This is from the Concordia Self-Study Bible. And I want to take just a little bit of an issue with this because it says,
Okay.
all right, so I got to take my glasses off to read this too. At this time, Salome was a young woman of marriageable age. Her dance was unquestionably lascivious.
Okay. That's what I've read as well. So that's that standpoint.
Do we have to say unquestionably?
No, I don't think that you can
Presumably?
say unquestionably. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
For all we know, she could have done a river dance,
Right. Yeah.
a square dance, right?
Unquestionably, it's hard
Unquestionably
to talk
is
about
strong.
unquestionably with such a small detail like that.
PJ, for all we know, this could have been the first person in history to do the electric slide,
Right.
right? And maybe that's what it was. But in any case, we have Salome's dance, and then that leads into what I think is the most powerful kind of parts of the episode, and that is the John the Baptist, Herod, basically realizing he's been conned.
Yeah.
Right, and at that point. So up to this point, then talk to me about what jumps out at you leading up to that.
Well,
last part
that
of it.
structure is so I definitely noticed the threes when you said threes.
Okay.
I noticed that going in too.
Right.
And I sort of noticed it in people. Like your opening scene, you've got a young Mary.
Yes.
And she visits Zachariah and Elizabeth. So it's
Yes.
sort of the three of them, and that structure that did stick out to, but I didn't make that same connection you did, which is really good. The biggest connection I made was I'm looking at all of the relationships between people, and a lot of them are marriages.
Right.
So you have Elizabeth and Zachariah.
Yeah.
And I noticed that the title of the episode is Promise.
Right.
Okay, and that's what the name Elizabeth means in Hebrew, right? Eli Shavit means God's promise. So it fits Elizabeth as a
Right.
character already, and that's how
Right.
it's introduced. And then, but so I'm thinking about the whole episode in that lens. Like Elizabeth and Zachariah, their relationship to their son is built on a specific promise.
Right.
And it's going to be for the rest of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
You know, John the Baptist and John the Baptist's life, right? His life is built on a specific promise. And so it got me thinking, looking at all these different relationships that you see, Joanna and Cusa and Herod and Herodias and all these relationships.
Yeah.
What promise is their relationship built on? And seeing the differences between the two. And ultimately, I mean, the culmination scene of John the Baptist's execution.
Yeah.
You know, where did you notice that silver platter?
Yes.
And the guard who's holding it says that, you know, it's actually it's meant to be a wedding
For a wedding
platter.
banquet.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then John the Baptizer, he starts laughing.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, because I've never been to a wedding banquet before. You know.
But I think I'm about to.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that jumps out at me too.
Yeah,
I think
it's so good.
Again, it's artistic license with the character of John the Baptist.
Oh yeah.
But it probably fits because you don't have John the Baptist recognizing what's going to happen, and the way that they interposed the birth of John the Baptist and the naming of John the Baptist.
Yeah.
Did you catch that? Because you still have Zechariah who's got to write on the slate, and his name will be John.
Yep.
What's the other writing then that we have taking place at the death of John the Baptist? The scribe who's recording his last words.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
So we had that mirroring that goes
Yeah.
on. And for John the Baptist to say something that's almost like off the cuff, like, why are you laughing?
Yeah.
And he says, you wouldn't get it.
You wouldn't get it.
And
yeah,
then he writes it down as his last words.
Yeah.
Notice the difference between that and, let's say, the way in which the human hero dies.
Yeah.
William Wallace in Braveheart.
Yeah.
Yelling out, freedom!
Yeah.
No, this is John the Baptist humbly recognizing that he's fulfilled that promise.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just that little visual that they give us when he sees the lamb.
The lamb, yeah. Yeah.
Right? It's so powerful and so well done.
Yeah.
And then you've got then kind of everything. They both start out with a journey. We start out with the journey, Mary's journey to the hill country to share good news.
Yep.
Joanna's journey to the disciples to share that news. And just that connection that you see. I just thought it was an amazing piece. That's how you use television.
Yeah.
That's how you use film to tell a story.
Yeah.
They did a great job. And I don't know if you noticed this detail. It's season 4, right?
Yep.
Episode 1. We don't see Jesus until the 44th minute.
I did notice that.
episode.
Yeah, I did notice that. Yep.
But he's the main character all the way along from the very beginning.
Yeah.
When Elizabeth says to Mary, as soon as you greeted me, you know, the baby leapt in my womb.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that's just good storytelling, man. That's just good storytelling.
And it's like they did exactly what John the Baptizer, what his role was.
Yeah.
They did with the episode. That's his role, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Jesus is the main character in his story, even though it's his story. Jesus is the main character in his story.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where, and the reason why I wanted to talk about it, because I'll be honest, I'm cheating. I'm using PJ for sermon research, because that is the text for this week.
Yeah.
And I want to dive into a little bit more of a deep dive of this relationship between Jesus and John the Baptist, and look at it from your technical biblical standpoint, where we start out with the fulfillment of Isaiah chapter 40. We'll look at it in the narrative. Their life is the same. They've got similar things during their life. Notice how, because in future episodes, you're going to see this frenetic and chaotic, tense relationship between Jesus and the Pharisees.
Yep.
And that defined John's life.
Yeah.
You know, that's you brood of vipers.
Brood of vipers.
And Jesus jumps on that. This kind of triangle that we have between John the Baptist, Herod, and the antagonist, for him it was Salome. Same thing with when Jesus meets with Herod.
Yep.
And then you got the Pharisees.
Yeah.
And that kind of a thing. And then at the end of John the Baptist's story, it simply says that his disciples took his body and buried him. End of story. And that's where Jesus' story begins.
Yeah.
And that's where our story begins.
Yeah.
Right? It's after that burial. Because you don't hear anything about John the Baptist later.
Right.
Jesus kind of refers to him when he says, you know, what did you think you came to see? But for the most part. So
because that's the whole point.
Yeah.
I mean, his task has been completed.
Yes. And, you know, where was, and, you know, and I'll use that too, where is Yahweh in my story?
Yeah.
Because that's what John the Baptist spent his whole life doing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a neat thing. So
yeah.
anyway, if you're not a watcher of The Chosen. We're not trying to sell it to you. We're just kind of recognizing how neat it is when we see really good storytelling that honors God's word. And we thought, it's worth a shout out for Dallas Jenkins and his crew.
Can't recommend it enough. I mean, it's very
Good stuff.
Yeah,
Really
especially
good
hey, if you're gonna and for a church goer here, you come into service this weekend and you're gonna preach on this. Boy, it would be great to watch this episode, have that visual in your mind of the story that
it's
so
on. It's streaming on. It's streaming on a popular streaming service. I don't know if we even can mention them. I think because they're so big, I'm afraid if we mention them, we'll have to pay them.
No, but you can. You can watch it on the Chosen app too.
Oh, the Chosen
They have
app.
their own app that you can download on your phone or on your TV, and you can watch everything there too.
Awesome.
But it is also on some of the bigger services.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good. I'm glad that you said that.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like, basically sending people to a river,
For sure.
to pay for something that they can watch for free.
Right.
All right. Okay, that's kind of that's it for today. We hope to see you this weekend.
Yeah.
Remember that we've got Thursday night services if you're busy on the weekend, and
It's gonna be great.
It'll be great.
Yeah.
How's that brisket go? PJ right now is
Smoking a brisket right now as we speak. So if you never hear me talk about it again, it didn't go well.
You are too young to start smoking meat. My daughter told me that. It's my daughter. Leah's joke was like, Dad, you know what happens to dads when they reach your age in their mid-50s? They go one of two ways. They either start talking about World War II documentaries, watching World War II docs, or smoking briskets.
Well, I agree with her assessment, but I think in your case, it's going to be more specific to first century Middle East documentaries.
Can't get enough of them. See you guys.